Hey there, y'all. It's Renee here. You can see me. Not necessarily a good thing, right? Um, I just decided to bring the computer over here to the chair and vlog to you guys this way because all those shadows, it always looked like I had like a black eye or something. I swear I didn't know. Um, well, I kind of wanted to come in and talk a little more about what I was talking about the other day. Maybe not a subject everybody wants to hear, but kind of elaborate on some things because I had some people message me on Facebook and some message me on YouTube and some on the video comments say that they've been through the same thing that I had been dealing with my adoptive parents and my two older children. And I want to say most importantly that I really do love all of my children. That more than anything, what I want is a relationship with my children and a relationship that we can maintain without interference. But I want them to grow up too. I mean, one thing I've realized, I'm 41 years old. Anyway, at my age, I've realized that you cannot use your childhood to excuse your whole life. Eventually, you have to get up and be an adult. And a lot of people have been through a lot worse than just not having everything they wanted as a child and not getting their way all the time. And I've learned that there's a lot of normals that I went through as a child and that my parents had to deal with when we were younger, and they were always, I perceived it as we weren't normal. We weren't a normal family. But we did have normal issues. The difference is, I don't want to say this to be mean because I love my adoptive mother and I love my adoptive father. But I am 100% sure that Daddy never should have been able to adopt children. I don't know how he was able to do it. Maybe because it was 1975 and the fact that my adoptive mother is a relative may be one of the biggest reasons they were able to do it, because he did not want children. They couldn't have children anyway, but he was an alcoholic. That's plain and simple truth. That's all he ever did, was go out drinking and go fishing and get drunk fishing. I mean, he did work. Daddy worked very hard. I'm not saying that he was not a provider. In that respect, he was a provider. But he was not a father. He was mean. He talked hateful to us, and they should have taken the signs, the signals that should not have been a father. I'm about 30, 70. That mama should not have adopted, only because a lot of it, I just don't think with being married to him she was capable of the full potential to be the parent that she truly wanted to be. And I saw that when we were younger. But she was an enabler and a passive aggressive who just sat back and watched. Daddy, he wasn't exactly cruel to her, but he wasn't like, husband of the year either. But when you raise children calling them names, telling them they'll never amount to anything, comparing them to their birth parents all the time, you can't expect them to think they have a lot of potential. So it took me a long time to be able to see that I have to live past and around all of the bullshit. And it did teach me too, there's one thing that never fails generation to generation, is that even though we see our parents making grave mistakes and doing things that make you cringe that if you did as a parent, it doesn't stop the next generation of parents from making mistakes also. And Julian and I were by no means perfect parents, but one thing I learned from my upbringing was that I wanted my children to have a lot of self-confidence, and I would never allow anyone to judge them because of their weight or because of their looks, or because of their having opinions, anything like that. So I felt very strongly about that with my children, and they're all very opinionated, and we're a very open family. So I know that got through to them. They are able to sit and talk with me, but it may have been a little bit of an overkill because, like I said, in the last video with the two oldest ones, it's always what they didn't have. There's never any positive, and it gets exhausting after a while. And eventually, we all have to grow up. We have to stop blaming our parents for who we've become, because the day that you are enlightened to the things the mistakes your parents made is not the day you rush over to their house and tell them, you screwed me up. That's the day you say, well, I know what I need to do different now. I know mom and dad were wrong about that. Maybe they were right about this, and I need to change this. But they were wrong about this, and I'm going to live different, because I'm not going to live under that cloud of, you made me feel like shit, and I had no self-confidence the rest of my life. And it's just, I have felt so restless and so just down the last couple of weeks, and I have to be honest and say it's because of some things my oldest daughter said to me. And I think to her it's just normal everyday conversation, and God bless her. I love that girl. I mean, I do. I love, my oldest daughter is like my buddy, my pal. Since Julian died, she's the one that I can go and sit and talk with, because she's the only one that has the time. I mean, Daddy doesn't allow Mama to come and see me, so once the funeral was over, he told her that was it. She wasn't allowed to come around me anymore. But anyway, I can sit and talk with her, and I enjoy talking with her, and I enjoy doing things with her when we have a chance to go out and do things together. I very much enjoy that. I've been thinking for a long while that when I have a little extra money, I'd like to take just her and I and Daisy out and go get our nails done and maybe get our hair done or something like that. But it's just come on now, she's 22. Let's go past this. When I was 8, I didn't get a pair of Barbie roller skates or whatever it is. Get past that. Live past it. You got spankings when you were a kid, and Julian was the step parent, but he did spank. But I'm going to tell you that their dad, my two oldest dad, is in prison. He's been in prison since 1998, which was the year Julian and I got married. And he knows himself that he was not there for them, and we've had conversations on the phones, and I see a lot of changes in him. And he says, best thing I ever did for my kids is go to prison, because they wouldn't have had any kind of life or any chance in life with me for a dad. And he said, I'm glad Julian was there to help you raise them. And it is exhausting to constantly hear what I did wrong. And I don't do that with my mother and father. I wouldn't have been allowed to in the first place. If I ever even said, do you remember when I was 12? That would end the conversation right there. They are absolutely closed-minded, don't want to hear anything, and I've never been that type. And I just feel like with the two older ones that I see it from a different perspective. I see it as the adult who was there around them should not have said and did the things that influenced them to feel the way they do about Julian and I, because it always comes back to that. When you have somebody doing those spiteful things to you, it's very hard to, and they had the money and the capability to give these kids things that we were working our ass off for and probably never would have been able to give them. I mean, they go over to Grandma and Grandpa's and they got a four-wheeler, they got fancy clothes, they've got a, just really frilly decorated bedroom and all this space, land to play on, and they go fishing. They've taken them to Dollywood, they've taken them to Tweetsie Railroad, to Florida, to all these trips that we couldn't do. So we always, because we weren't capable of doing that, it was easy for them to say, your mom and your stepdad are wrong. They're bad people. They, Mama wants you to do dishes because she wants you to be her slave. How shitty to say that to a child, you know? But I try really hard not to be angry at my mom, but every time my daughter brings those things up to me, it makes me think, you know, this has been programmed into her head when she was at such a tender age. And the easy thing to do would have been to pull them away from my mom, but I just never could do that. And Julian used to say, you know, she's over there brainwashing those kids. We are never going to be able to have any say-so, control, or anything. And back in the day when we were both working, I'd work usually an evening shift job, and Julian always worked during the day. We'd ground them, and while I was at work, Mama would come and get them. And she knew they were grounded, but she'd tell Julian, these are my grandkids. I've got something planned with them, and I'm taking them. And she would do it. And Julian's left sitting there, his jaw open. He would call me at work. Do you know your mother just came and got these kids? And I called, Mama, they're grounded. You cannot come and get them. Well, I had something planned. You can ground them next weekend. Well, that, you know, is not really going to help. So, in one way, those kids became spoiled brats over there, and at home, it was just like, you just literally, Julian and I were wanting to take the hair out of our heads, you know. But anyway, we have to get past that mentality of my whole life is going to be my parents' fault, and that way I don't have to atone for anything I've done, because I made my own stupid mistakes as an adult. My parents definitely did not force me to marry my first husband. Mama didn't want me to, and I ended up in a very abusive marriage and with 2 small children, and just stuck not knowing how to get out of that situation. But I made that decision, though. I could have stayed at home. I could have tried to listen to my parents. I could have gotten along better. I could have just done dishes when Mama asked me to do. I could have finished school. I was very smart. I got very good grades in school, and I was never on the honor roll, but I don't think I wanted to be. It's the only reason I wasn't, because I kind of pulled back a little bit, and I wouldn't give all that I could give because I was very shy. I was very, very shy in school. But that's all me, you know. I could have put my life in a different direction, but I went the directions that I did as an adult. I made those decisions, and that's on me. And I can't say, well, like right now, for example, I can't find a place to rent, and I've got to move in less than 30 days because Daddy didn't love me enough when I was a little girl. Yeah. So, you know, there comes a time when that excuse, and I think it comes for most young adults when they have children of their own, when they move away from home and they make their own life, it's time to start atoning for your own actions. It's time to stop blaming Mama, stop blaming Daddy, and do the right thing. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I do honestly get frustrated with my mother, but she's 70 years old, and I don't say anything to her. But with my oldest son, she is so much of an enabler. She has always been an enabler, and I have my adopted sister who is older, but who was adopted later. I feel like Mama enabled that crack habit that she has, because my brother and I told her, stop giving Marie money. She is doing drugs. And no, she's not. She goes to church with me every Sunday. She would call Mama over there, Mom, I need $40, and buy drugs with it, and was constantly doing it. I mean, it was just, she is the type of person, Mama is, that she just, all you have to do is sit in church with her one Sunday. It does not, you could have a dead body hanging over your shoulder if you're sitting in church with her. She is just gullible enough to do anything you want after that. And because my brother and I refuse to be fake people to her. I think she's turned away from us, and it's a shame, because I think we would be the ones who would treat her better in her old age. And when she needs us there, we will be there for her, because we're not fake. But anyway, yeah, no, it's just what it is. Peace. Bye bye.